So, so as yesterday I mentioned, like, we were, just started the basics of Spring, and, we wanted to know what exactly Spring can do, right? So this was the project that we are going to do, a simple, small project. Okay. So which will help us understand, what kind of features that Spring provided, and how much advantage they will give us when we are doing coding, right? So those things actually we'll be able to understand here. And for the simple understanding, actually, I have these four iterations. Okay, four iterations of code we are going to write. Yeah, for time saving, actually I already had that code. Okay, so we have to just go through and understand what is the difference, like what exactly wanted to learn from that, from each and every iteration. We are going to do that. Okay, the first iteration, tightly coupled Java code. Okay, so game runner class and game classes. Okay, one is Mario, Super Contra, and Pac-Man. So what we are going to do, actually, these are the several games, three games, and each game has to run in the game runner class. Okay, so for the first iteration, actually we are going to discuss about tightly coupled. So what exactly it's tightly coupled? I'm gonna give you that example, and then after that we will make this we'll make this same code loosely coupled in using Java. Okay, using Java interfaces. And after that, we'll go with Spring level one, what exactly Spring Beans and all, right? So then once we understand like what is how Spring is going to manage the objects, and how the auto wiring works in Spring, then the last iteration for loosely coupling okay, Spring level 2 annotations, and Spring framework will create and manage all the objects, and it also auto wire. Okay, so these are the four iterations actually which we will try to understand how Spring is different from our traditional programming. Okay, so let me start with the first one. Okay, so I already have this programs created. Okay, so I have this game runner class, and also Mario, Pac-Man, and Super Contra. Okay, so let me go back here. I'll just go with this one, game runner. Okay, and okay. So if you see here, I already have this app gaming basics. Okay, so yeah, okay. Before this, I just wanted to show you something. Okay, so as we are using Java 7, Java 17, the version. Okay, so there is one new feature which we had it on Java 10, introduced in Java 10. So what was that actually? You can instead of going with any of the data types, primitive data types. Okay, and we don't require to you know declare with the class name. Actually, you can use var for that. Okay, var is kind of, you can utilize it for the normal like what to say, if you wanted to do, if you wanted to use some int a equals to 10, something like that, for the primitive data type, okay, still you can use it as var a equals to 10 something, okay. And for user defined classes also, like if now we were trying to utilize it as var, and you declare it as a Mario game, and it is getting assigned with the Mario game object, right? So in that cases also you can utilize var, and this is like it introduced in Java 10. Okay, so var variable. Okay, okay. So now what I have done, actually I have created var Mario game and new Mario game. Okay, so okay, so what I'm trying to do, okay, I'm just commenting the previous code. Okay, so to make sure we will go with the first step. Okay, so the first step is actually what we are going to do. We are going to create a game runner class and also an individual gaming, right? So I have created a Maria game, and I have passing that Maria game to the game runner class so that it can run the game. Okay. Okay, so in the game runner class, what we're going to do, we are going to uh, enable the old logic, not the new one. Okay, and I'm just going to comment this. Okay, okay, one second. Okay, yeah. Okay, yes. Now let's see. Okay, so we have the exact code. Okay, what we are trying to do it. Game runner. Okay, just a minute, guys. Okay. Yeah, so what is our first iteration? The first iteration is actually we are going to create a tightly coupled Java code, okay, with the game runner class, and the game classes separately, Mario, Super Contra, and Pac-Man, right? So right now what I've done, actually I have created only the Mario game, and it has several methods in it, okay. So we can call all of them, when we start running the Mario game, right? So what I've done, actually, I just created a Mario object, okay, and I pass that Mario object to the game runner class. So what is game runner class? Game runner is having a constructor which can take the one of the game as an object, okay, and it is going to assign that you know to the current, sorry, to the current reference, whatever we have it here. So this dot game equals to mg, so it will be having the Mario game object over here, And whenever it runs this run method, actually it is going to run for the Mario game. Okay, so what we are trying to do here, yeah, we just created Mario object and we passed it to the game runner, and we are calling game runner.run. So what it does, it is going to run the Mario game. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So if you see here, so it uh, it actually uh, ran whatever the methods it has: jump, go into hole, go to back, and accelerate. So all these methods have been executed, and that means we were able to successfully run the Mario game. Okay, so what exactly we are going to do with if you wanted to run the Contra game, okay, in the application, right? So I have created a Contra game. Okay, like what exactly we do, with the buttons, for the Contra game. Okay, so let me go back, okay, and show you the changes what we need to do. Okay, so if you see here, if you wanted to run the Contra game, so what we need to do, we need to pass this, we need to create a object of Contra game, and we need to pass that to the game runner, right? So that game runner can run the Contra game, right? So let me do that. One second. Okay, so guys, like now what I've done, actually I just disabled, sorry, I just commented the Mario related code, and I just enabled the Contra related code over here. So what it is giving, actually it is giving an error saying that, okay, the constructor of game runner Contra game is undefined. Okay, so if I go to the game runner class, okay, so in the game runner class, what we are trying to do, actually we are passing the object of Mario game, okay, and it is strictly accepting only Mario game, right? So it is not accepting any of the Contra game, okay, or any other game name, right? It is a very strictly accepting only Mario game. So if you want to if you want to change that, if you wanted to run the Contra game, what we need to do, we actually, instead of going with Mario game, we have to change the entire constructor. Okay, okay, to accept, instead of a Mario game object, we need to change it to the Contra game, right? So that it can get that Contra game from the app gaming basics, and it is capable enough to run that Contra game whenever we pass this one, right? So what we're trying to do now, actually we were trying to run the Contra game, so that whatever the game runner class, okay, which was having a code which is capable enough only to run the Mario game. And that's what we say, the game runner is tightly coupled with the Mario game, right? So for running the any other game, actually you have to first do some changes and make it compatible to run that particular Contra game, right? So what we have done, we just changed the constructor which can accept as the Contra game now. And let's see if it is capable enough to run right now. 1 second. Okay, see, so it was able to run those contra related. Jump, sit down, go to back and shoot. So we were able to run the contra game, okay, after changing the game runner class, which it is, accepting a contra game object instead of Mario, right? So what do we understand here, right? So this game runner class, now it is, tightly coupled with contra game. So if you wanted to create a new game like Pac-Man and you wanted to run that, so what we need to do, actually we have to change this game runner class again to accept the Pac-Man object, okay, to run that Pac-Man game, right? So this is like, very kind of, very tightly coupled logic, for the game and the game runner, right? So what we'll try to do now, actually, we will try to introduce, okay, how we can make this, how we can make this logic, to loosely couple. So instead of directly using game runner class, actually we will try to use an interface called gaming console. Okay, and in the gaming console, okay, we will have all the methods, whatever we are going to use it in the different type of games. Okay, instead of passing the exact object of the game, we will pass the interface reference, to the game runner class, so that it can run whatever the game that we required, to like Mario, Contra, Pac-Man, whatever we need, it can enough. It will have that capability to run without less changes of code. Sorry, with less changes of code. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Okay, the loosely coupling. Okay, so if you see here, I already have the changes whatever we have it for gaming console. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just changing this gaming console. Okay, so gaming console is an interface which we already created, so which is having all the objects, sorry, all the methods of the default methods of four of these three games. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm just implementing gaming console. Okay, so for Mario game, so I just implemented everything here. Okay, so similarly, I need to implement the same thing for Contra. Okay, so I just went there, Contra game. Okay, and here also I have just included that implements gaming console. Okay, so the same way, if you wanted to write for the Pac-Man, so you have to implement the Pac-Man and gaming console, and we were just trying to add that up, down, we are implementing those methods, whatever we have it on the gaming console, right? So let's go and check back the code of game runner. Okay, so in the game runner, what I'm trying to do, instead of calling individual games, now I'm using game console interface reference, and we are passing that interface reference over here, to run whatever the game that we need. Okay, so what are all the changes that we need to do in the main class, right? Okay, so let me go back over there. and I'm just commenting this. Okay, see now, simple way. Okay, now if you see here, I just created an object of Contra. Okay, and I just passed that object, to uh, the game runner. Now game runner is accepting, Contra game without any changes, here, because instead of using, the strict dependency class, actually we were using, the interface. Okay, so now, we are passing a Contra game object to the game runner, and let's see what it is going to do now. Okay, so if you see here, it was able to run the game for Contra. Okay, and now I wanted to run Mario. So what I need to do, instead of passing Contra game object, I can directly pass Mario game. And if I run the application, yeah. So if you see here, it was able to run the Mario game as well without any changes, only except, passing the required Mario game object, and we were not changing anything in the game runner class. So how is it possible? Because we were using interface instead of instead of direct class reference. Actually, we were using interface, right? Oh, Pacman. Okay, one second. Okay. Yeah. See, so it was able to run the game for Pacman as well. So like now, earlier we were seeing that strict dependency, okay, in the game, and between the game runner and the game class. Now, as we introduce, gaming console as an interface, and we implemented all those methods into these classes, right? All the different classes, okay, for the gaming, uh, game classes. And then we were trying to utilize that gaming console interface object, okay, reference, to pass the individual objects, for each and every game, so that we don't require to change much code changes on the game runner class. So we made it very, loosely coupled, you know loosely coupled game runner class, with the help of gaming console interface, right? So now, you can do very less changes, and you can just create that object and pass it. Then your game will be running actually without any changes. So this is what we call, the difference between the tightly coupled and loosely coupled. Okay, so you don't require to do some changes, and the classes, you know are, they are like dependent, but they won't, they can run individually, with very less code changes, and you can call different type of games, and different type of games can execute with a very minor changes. So it is having very loosely coupled code, okay, so that you can run it anytime, for any game. Okay, now let's go one step ahead, and understand what is the concept behind this, right? So what we are trying to do, it looks very similar. Okay, sorry, it looks very easy actually, when we are trying to create these objects, and passing this to game runner class. So internally, what we are trying to do, Actually, we are creating an object over here. Okay. And what we are trying to do, okay, so we were trying to pass this object, okay, to the game runner class. Okay, that means you are auto wiring, or you're wiring one of the object, okay, which we are created, which we have created for a Pacman class. So you are wiring it to the game runner class, you know constructor. Okay, so what game runner constructor is expecting? It is expecting a reference of gaming console. So what you are trying to do in Java, so you are trying to create an object over here, and you whatever the created object, you are trying to wire it to the game runner class, right? So game runner class is having a constructor which is accepting the gaming console reference. Okay, so as a Pacman is implementation of gaming console, you are able to pass this game object, whatever you created for Pacman, you are passing that to game runner class. So that means you are creating a new game runner object, and also immediately you are wiring with the required object of the game runner constructor. So what exactly happening? You have created object creation is happening, plus wiring is happening. So when I say wiring, you can, it might be like little confused, like, if you don't know the Spring. So wiring is that you are attaching an object. Okay, you are attaching an object to that to particular class. Okay, like what we are trying to do in the game runner, we have the gaming console object which is required to run the game, so that you are passing that object, you are giving that object to the game runner class to execute the job, right? So we call that as wiring. Okay, object creation and wiring is happening only with this one line. Okay, and here you are creating an object. Okay, so let's see very deeper how exactly Spring is going to help on these items. Okay, on object creation, on object wiring. Okay, so before that, let's try to learn some small basics. Okay, how Spring is going to help us on the creating objects and all, right? So let's go and check a couple of classes. Okay, one sample. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here, there's an interaction. Okay. So okay. So I have a class called Hello World Configuration. Okay. So what I'm trying to do now, actually, whatever the class that I have it, like Hello Configuration, I wanted to, like ask Spring, to manage that class. Okay, instead of I create objects, I manage all those code and everything, right? So instead of doing that, I'm asking Spring to take care of that particular class. So what is the class that I was taking as an example? It is Hello World Configuration. Okay, so what I've done, actually, there is a one line. Okay, you see here, where context. Okay, I'm just creating a context. Okay, so what that context is, I'm just calling the existing annotation config application context. Okay, so this is one of the spring spring class, sorry. Yeah, so spring class constructor, I'm just calling it to create a context. Okay, so if you see here, new annotation config application context, I'm just passing which class that spring has to take care. That class related information, I'm passing it to this constructor. Okay, so what this constructor is going to do, so it is going to create a context object. Okay, so which we can utilize whatever the whatever the methods or whatever the beans, I can say just now beans, whatever we created in the hello world configuration class, we can utilize them you know without creating any objects, and without without auto wiring them to certain things, right? Auto wiring means you already know that wiring means if you wanted to pass any object, or any object to certain constructor, or certain method, you don't require to do that. Okay, so spring itself capable enough to do those things. So let's see how it is going to do it. Okay, so what I've done, actually hello world configuration class, let us go and visit that first. Okay, there are a lot of methods that you are seeing it here. Okay, so don't confuse anything. Okay, we'll just start with couple. Okay, so the first method, public string name. So what I'm trying to do, actually I'm trying to return back a string, which it is my first app. Okay, so what is this? This is a very plain method. Forget about this annotation, what I'm trying to use it here. Okay, so it is just only this one. Okay, public string name, and which is containing some return value. It's just my first app. Okay, so what you see, this is a plain method, right? But how like spring is going to convert this and this as an object or something, right? So for that, spring provided an annotation called @bean. Okay, so if we define this one, okay, @bean on top of a method. Okay, so spring will treat it as a bean, and it will be loaded that as an object. Okay, or that you know it will be loaded into its context. Okay, with the name of method. Okay, so what it is going to do, it is convert it is going to treat this particular method as a bean. Okay, and whenever you wanted to access this bean or access this method, okay, you can directly you know you can directly call this method without creating hello world configuration object, because we have created, okay, we have created or we appended this @bean on top of the method, right? So spring is going to take care of this method, and its life cycle will be handled by spring. Okay, and let me show you what I was talking about. Actually, if you see here, okay, so what I was trying to say, anything that spring manages, okay, we call it as bean. Okay, so here the method is declared as bean, and its name is, what is the name of that method? The name is name. So what I'm trying to do here, system.out.println context.get bean of name, right? So what it is going to print for me, it is going to print for me my first app. Okay, right? So so similarly, we do have a lot of other things, okay? Different type of beans, right? So the other bean is like, if you want to return a integer, okay? So you have like, a bean which was taking care, giving an integer as a response, that we have age method, okay, which we declared it as bean, right? So what is this bean called, right? I already mentioned like whatever Spring is going to maintain, you know, we call everything as a bean only. Okay. So now what is this bean name? This bean name is age, right? So Spring is, helping us, to, call that name using the context dot get bean. Okay. So let me try to run this class. Okay. Okay, 1 second, let me go up. Okay, when I run this, actually it started this one and it gave me my first app. Okay, because I have called that name method couple of times. So, and then it printed 20, right? So you don't require to like, you whenever it is, you know, in the normal way, if you wanted to call that particular method, so what are all the steps that you do? You go ahead and create hello world configuration object, and once the object is created, you call that each and every object dot get name, object dot get age, that method, we are going to call it. But now you are not doing like that, right? So how you're doing, you're just calling, you are utilizing the context, okay, which was created by Spring, okay, and internally the objects which are we were trying to use, which is also handled by Spring, right? That means, the life cycle of that object or that bean, it is handling, it is handled by bean, sorry, Spring. So how I'm saying that it is handled by Spring, if you see here, right, when I started this project, or when I started running this object, sorry, the class, okay. So if you see here, application config, okay, annotation config of application context, okay. So the Spring created that application context, okay. What exactly it has done? So see, default listable bean factory, okay. So it is trying to create all the beans whatever we have declared in the hello world configuration. So if you see here, so forget about these things, actually these are like, internal Spring related beans that it is going to create. But starting from here, creating shared instance of singleton bean, okay, this is hello world configuration. So hello world configuration, I'm going to come to this one, okay. First let us understand what is bean, right? So how a Spring is creating them, right? This is creating shared instance of singleton bean, which is name, age, person, person 2, address, person 3. So all the methods that whatever we declared it as, being in the hello world configuration, Spring is trying to manage the life cycle of that object, right? Or that bean, so that you can easily utilize that bean, okay, in the program, and you can run through, okay, you can access that, without any object creations, right? So that means, the first step, whatever the object creation thing, you actually removed using Spring, right? So let us go a little deeper, okay. In the in the context of the beans. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, we'll just get some water. Okay, thanks. Okay, so let me go to the hello world configuration. Okay, so if you see here, right, you might have a question saying that, okay, why Spring created a singleton bean, okay, for hello world configuration. I did not declare anything at the red bean on top of hello world configuration, right? But I have an extra annotation, okay, which is called as at the rate configuration, right? So what exactly this does, right? At the rate configuration is one of one of the annotation which we got it from Spring. Okay, so the Spring, what this annotation tells, so Spring configuration annotation, okay, indicates that, okay, this class is, this class has, bean objects or bean definition methods. Okay, so saying that, that so that, the Spring can start utilizing or, start loading this class, process this class first, and create all those beans, as a singleton objects. So now how we can pass this, right? How we are doing that, we were just giving it, in here, right? If you see here, hello world configuration dot class. Okay, we are going to learn. Okay, if you don't want to pass this hello world configuration, even that time also actually Spring can load that configuration classes, whatever it is declared with an annotation at the rate configuration. We will learn that part, but for now, actually, we were passing this hello world configuration to Spring context, asking, Spring to create a context of it, and, whatever the beans that it has it. Okay, so it just create singleton beans so that I can utilize. That's what you're trying to say, with this line, right? So when you call those methods, or sorry, when you call those each and every bean, whatever we have it in hello world, actually you are calling with them context, right? So yeah, let us go and check the other things. Okay, so I have another bean which is declared, sorry, another method which is also declared as at the rate bean. Okay, what is this? Public person and a person. Okay, person method. Okay, so what this is going to return, it is going to return a person object, okay, with the values. Okay, so when you call this person object in the here, what we are trying to do, we are just calling with the context dot get bean of the method name, right? So what is the method name? It is person. Got it right? Okay. So so now what exactly, these are like very plain beans, right? Very plain methods. Okay. Now still now we did not had very any complex complex beans that we are going to create it, right? But you know see here, we are having a new person object which is having a name and which is having a age. Okay, and we also have the new address, which is taken care of in the person object, right? So we already have couple of methods, okay, which was returning name and also the age, right? So if you wanted to utilize, okay, utilize existing name and age to create another person object. So how we can do that? Like, uh, we can just directly call the name, and we can just directly call the age. And if you see here, so there is an address also, I think, I have written in the below. Yeah, here. So this can be utilized, okay, over here. So this is a one way that you can utilize the existing beans, okay, to create a new bean. Okay, that means after Spring creates this singleton, okay, of these beans, name, age, and address, then it is those beans are getting utilized, okay, to create an extra person object, or the other person bean, right? So this is one way that you can utilize it, okay, and the other way, simple, you can directly use these, passing the name, age, and address. Okay, so what this name, age, and address that we are going to do it, okay, if I go back into the, 1 second, let me make it bigger. Okay, I did not add that method, but that's okay. So what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to explain the ways that you can utilize, the existing beans directly, okay, which can create a new person object. The first way is, utilizing those methods directly, okay, calling them whenever they required. This is the first one. And the second one is person three param, okay. So you can pass those, as a param, name, age, and address, right? So that, you can also add it to the add address to the person. Okay, so 1 second, let me, I think, I already have that one in the below. Might be I just removed it here. Yeah, person three to dot parameters. Okay, so I think it should be there here also. 1 second. Yeah, I can add that one. 1 second. Just a minute. Just a minute. What happened? Okay. Okay. Person three parameters, not person three parameters. I think I just changed that method name. Person three param. Okay. So let's see how it does. Okay. I'm just trying to execute one more time. And after the person object. Okay, if you see here, this is the person object, and this is the person three param. Why I'm saying param? Because if you see here, it is passing name equals to my first app and age 20, and address is whatever we have it in the other beans. Okay, so Elvin. Okay, so let's see. Let me go back. Okay, this is one more way that you can still utilize as a param, and you have to make sure that this name, okay, this name of that variable should be matching with the bean name. Okay, so that, when we call this person3 param, okay, when we are trying to retrieve this person3 param, from the context.getBean, person3 param. So Spring can automatically auto wire these beans, okay, to this particular method, okay, whether it is going to replace with the name, okay, as a string, uh, 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 with this bean, okay, and it is going to replace this age, with the bean whatever we created earlier, and it is going to, do the same thing for this bean as well. Okay, so so okay, so I'll tell you, I'll go to this one, okay, just a minute, but but you guys understood how Spring is going to do these things, right? Whenever we call this person3 as a param, okay, so Spring is going to check these things, and it is going to call that particular required bean, to execute this method. Okay, so it is going to retrieve them the values, from the beans, and it is going to add it to the person. Okay, and it is going to return back to the class who retrieved that bean. So that means, we got these things, okay, as the response. Okay, so now let's go a little deeper, okay, in the Spring, to avoid certain confusions. Okay, so we learned how individual bean is going to be created, and for not only a single a single written, or we just learned about certain classes which have multiple values in it, and multiple properties in it. Okay, so which is returning those person related object and all. And other than this, we learned how to utilize existing beans which were created by Spring, and that those things actually how we can utilize in the other beans, like we are going to ask Spring to create it, right? So that we have checked in couple of ways. The one is calling that existing name methods, okay, and the other way actually we were utilizing with the parameter way. Okay, and we make sure that the parameters are having the exact name of the beans, okay, so that Spring can replace those values at the runtime. Okay, so let us go little more deeper, okay, on this. And if you see here, so there are three different methods, okay, which I have created over here, right? And all three are related to address. Okay, so the first thing what you observe here, this one, okay, so address. Okay, so what do we have it here? The bean name is an extra, extra thing that you see it here. We were just adding bean name for this particular method, right? I don't want to use address. Okay, so that's why what I'm trying to do, I'm just giving a bean name for this one, that is ADDR. Okay, okay, so that whenever we utilize ADDR, okay, from somewhere, or when we call this ADDR bean from the context. Okay, so instead of, we don't require to use address, it is going to return this address related information for us, right? So, and you see there are multiple beans with the same address, right? Okay, so Okay, 1 second. So I'll show you something. 1 second. Okay, if you see here, I just removed, just to make sure that it is not allowing any duplicate methods. Okay, so we have this address too, and you can utilize, okay, so the same address to method. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, okay. Okay, you can utilize the different type of address. You can just create those methods and with the different names, with the different bean names, right? But actually it is going to return the similar kind of address. But why I'm trying to add it over here? Okay, so this is the one way that you can create a bean. Okay, and this is one more way that you can create a bean which looks very similar to the above one, right? But you see an extra annotation which is called @primary. So what this primary is going to do, let's check it. Okay, so if you see here, there is one ADDR which we are trying to utilize, this one, right? So if you call this one ADDR, okay, ADDR, okay, 1 second. Did we call that ADDR over here? Yes, we call it ADDR. Okay, so let me run this class. Okay. Okay, so if I go up, let's make it bigger. Guys, if you see here, right? Address, street L1 and street city, L1 street and city Texas TX, right? So when you call this ADDR, actually, okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I'll continue tomorrow. Because I don't have power actually right now, so my laptop battery is almost uh, it's almost 10% remaining. So I'll continue tomorrow. Okay. So yeah, if you have any questions or something, we can discuss that first, and I'll continue on this address related things. Okay, so to avoid this ambiguity, why we are going to use @primary, I'm going to tell those things, okay, tomorrow. If you guys have any questions, to let me know now, and otherwise, we can just close the session. Any questions, guys?
These applications are all are Spring related applications. Spring,
Yeah,
Spring framework only.
correct. Yes, Gautami.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very basic one. It is going forward. Actually, we will just create one more sample application, and we will jump into Spring Boot, and from there, as I mentioned, we are going to create an end-to-end application that will be deployed into either one to the AWS or Azure. I'll decide, when we go there, and then, we will try to deploy that one, and we'll try to run it, on the cloud platform. Yeah. And
Oh,
and I have a little more basics related to React, and, I'll try to tell them, and we'll create a React application as well, to call these services, whatever we created on Spring Boot. Okay. And those services will be, called from that React application, and we'll try to deploy the entire application into the cloud. Okay, so with the time permits, but I'm pretty much sure, for the Spring Boot and all, I'm going to deploy it into one cloud, and I'll show you how we can run them. Yeah. So it's like, step-by-step process. Now we are just learning the basics of Spring, and we'll just create one sample project after this, and we'll go with the Spring Boot. And in the Spring Boot, we'll have a couple of projects, simple projects only, not the bigger ones, but it will give you the entire view of Spring Boot and Spring. Yeah.
And you last week, yesterday you said YAML that those are
Correct.
related to, I mean,
build this applications. Okay, it is going to finally create the jar file, and it is finally going to deploy into AWS environment. Okay, so that where actually I just gave you the basics of YAML, so that you can just remember them when we are trying to modify that YAML file for this Java project, that what we are going to create it in future. So you will be having that basics, to why we are using YAML. Okay, and those things, I just try to explain in a very normal way, how YAML is getting utilized, to build and test run, and how we can publish that. Okay,
actually YAML,
jar
that code
files.
was different when compared to Java programming. That is different part of Java, or
No,
YAML
it's
is GitLab.
YAML is completely different. It's not part of Java. Okay, so
Okay.
it is just going to help us to build the project. And if you wanted to run some test cases on it, so you can run those test cases. Okay, and finally it will ask you where I need to push the code. Okay, so that's YAML is completely entirely into a different place, continuous deployment. Okay,
Yeah,
if
Git,
you are
Git
talking about,
also like that only, right?
yes,
Yeah.
but you need to understand all these things, for like, to do some coding, and to perform something at your company, right? You have to understand all these concepts. Okay, how CI/CD is processing, and how the Git, how I need to commit my code, into a Git repository, and all these things actually, will help you, like in the company. Okay, so
The Git and
uh,
YAML, no need, like Java, we no need to download, just only it works like in browser only.
no,
Just
no, for Git actually you can download it. Okay, you can also utilize the Git in your local as well. Okay, so there are softwares, but for I don't want to install it in my local. So what I've
the
done
same way,
actually, I
YAML also we
utilized.
can download, or
No, YAML is, you don't require to download anything, YAML. Okay, so if you have Eclipse, you can just
okay,
create YAML
YAML
files.
file.
Yeah, yeah, YAML file with an extension of YML, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but Git, you need an installation. Okay, so to check out the code, to commit the code, you are utilizing Git related console, right? That command prompt, to execute those, uh, you know, uh, commands of Git, right? So you definitely required that particular thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure, Gandhari. Yeah, thanks. Okay, I'm stopping. Okay, the share and the recording. Okay, yeah, feel free to log off. Yeah, thank you.